culture developed in three registers: the symbolic, the law of the father, the imaginary, fantasies conscious or unconscious, and the real, what exists and cannot be named. Conventional reality for Lacan includes the things that we agree upon and has been established. Rachmaninoff vocalist, for example, it has the three levels: the sounds that initially Rachmaninoff conceived as the imaginary, the symbolic world, and our agreement regarding intonation, musical writing, performing tradition. The real is the meaning that the music conveys and which cannot be translated into words. Freud and Lacan tell us that we have undergone a loss in our process of being incorporated into the world of language, and that our life is marked by that lack. Lacan said, quotation, "All forms of art are characterized by a certain mode of organization around a void." He opened, in my opinion, a path to study the arts. One disciple and assistant, Alain Didier-Weil, a contemporary psychoanalyst who continued to develop Lacan theories. In his writings, he explores the aspects of relationship of psychoanalysis with music and other arts. In December of 1976, Lacan asked Weil to participate in one of his lectures. In that occasion, Didier-Weil established a method, a theory to analyze the music or the musical experience based on the existence of the invocative drive. Soon after, he published an article where he developed his concept of the blue note, a concept he considered a second contribution to the problem of the invocative drive. These two contributions, the invocative drive and the blue note, are the issues that I propose to present to you today. We will develop in these theories of subjectivity discussion of music as an other, to whom we listen and to and by whom we are listened to. This also accounts for an investigation of music and meaning, the power of music to create an emotional response from us. Let us start by observing that when psychoanalysis speaks of the voice, it refers to a process by which the sound is constituting each individual as an object of a drive. The object is lost from the very outset and independent of any reference to a tangible object of reality. These theories of Freud and Lacan are relevant because they consider the sound that occupies a fundamental place in the structure of the subject. Music reveals a dimension of us as a divided subject. The blue note, as I will describe, could be considered a commemoration of a psychic birth. So, for psychoanalysts, the subject has a kind of birth with the inaugural sound or invocative drive. But how exactly does these drives originate? It goes like this. At the beginning of the life, the infant gives out a cry. It doesn't matter if we are speaking about the first cry or not. This cry is that what matters in this cry is a pure expression through sound of a state of internal displeasure, and that this cry is answered by the other, usually the mother. The mother or another person attributes meaning to the cry, interpreting it as hunger, thirst, etc., and brings the child something to calm down the tension, something that can be considered first satisfaction. A trace of the first satisfaction will remain on the child's memory and will be associated with certain elements: physical contact, feeling, sonorous stimulation. In this way, the child will also acquire a representation of a first jouissance. This memory trace will be associated with the sonority of the child's cry. The cry is not a priori a call, much less a demand. It's a simple expression of discomfort. It is the other who, in attributing meaning to the cry, raises it to the status of a demand. The first cry is hypothetical because as soon as it's interpreted, its purity is lost forever. The purity of sound is now caught in the web of signification that occurs with the intervention of the other. Then comes the second phase, when the baby cries again. With this cry, everything is different. The sound is a call for somebody or for something. It is not a pure sound, but an invocation. This time the cry is no longer a sound. It acquires the status of a demand for the return of the object of the first enjoyment. Whatever the mother does to calm the baby is never identical to the first time. So the first object of jouissance is irremediably lost. The sound that took part in the first jouissance can be the sound of the voice, the sound of the mother. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that it is a sound. The search for a sound is understood then as an attempt to recover a sonorous materiality that is already lost. From the second phase on, the cry exists only as a demand. In other words, the sound is produced to cause an effect that the mother will interpret and react to. This interaction with the other is our access to language. Sound is something that surrounds us. First, there is a tension between sound and meaning. Sound can even undermine meaning. One example, I hope not too much, is today when I speak in English to you. Maybe my accent, apart from what I'm saying, evokes my ethnicity, culture. My accent also highlights the sound, the materiality of sound as an intrusion into English, subverting the signification of the spoken words. When this happens, when the sound subverts the meaning, our relationship with the materiality of sound becomes an object of jouissance. The sound as an object is understood as a lost object, like the very first object of jouissance. So my conclusion is that sound, including music, evokes a quest for the lost object, a search for a lost sonorous materiality, now dissolved beyond signification. Maybe this could explain why, for us, musicians and listeners, music has such a powerful meaning while at the same time exceeding the meaning expressed in language. Music has something of a paradox. Music possesses the paradox of having meaning without an external reference. Music provokes such powerful emotion that it makes us wonder what is happening to me. We all performers know how the voice of our instrument touches so deeply. For example, somebody who listened to Maria Callas was asked once if he was crying because he knew she's going to kill herself from the opera. And his answer was no, it was the sound of her voice. Many famous musicians embrace the same position, that the most valuable music knowledge we have about music is intuitive, the result of our ability to listen to some sort of message that music transmits. Piles tells us that in music transmits a significant without signifier, music that does not require a time to translate its meaning. This is the main difference, the fundamental difference between a word and a music note. Here, the fact that music can transmit a significant message without a signifier implies that its message circumvents the circuit of words and their representations to directly address the invocative drive. To put in his words, quotation, Didier says, without a thinking structure of language, music creates an othernet which directly affects the real that the drive source represents. So let's clarify this point. Let's talk about the invocative drive. He refers to three phases. The first stage of the drive, which are not necessarily chronological, but logical. We are touched by music. It is as music listens something in us. The problem starts by stating the fact that this response that music arouses in us brings a preceding question that we have, but we did not know we had. Music represents another that listens to something in us that we do not understand. In the first stage, it is music that listens to us rather than the opposite. So, one problem that arises considering music as an other is to determine whether we are listening to the desire of music or the desire of the other. To be the desire of the other is unlikely, because the desire of the other, with capital letters, is usually threatening, paralyzing. Music, by the contrary, imposes on us an unquestionably yes. This yes that we say to music represents the invocative drive. The simplicity of this yes does not mean that we understand. Our response, our yes, without questioning it, is beyond our comprehension. So the first phase is music listening to us. It's described by Weil as a subjective transmutation. A subject-listener is transmuted into a subject listening to. If music has a particular relationship with the invocative drive, which according to Lacan is the closest to the experience of the unconscious, it lies in the fact that by the yes we say in response to music, a part of our unconscious self comes into existence. Because since music is something exterior to us, we depart from the Freudian conception of this continuity or separation between our interior self and the exterior world. Instead, we are revealed, like the Moebian conception, to have a continuity between the interior and exterior of our being. Performing music is an experience of the other as somebody not so foreign to us. In every phrase we play, we try to recreate a music that is an expression of Rachmaninoff as much as it is of ourselves. On the second stage, it says, is the reverse, from the other to the music. This is the moment in which we understand the structure of music, but also reach a point of hallucinating, imagining we are the composer. It is a point where the notes we perform or listen seem to be ours. It is as if were I who created the melody I'm playing, or as if it belonged to me from before. The emotional understanding that music creates has no need for mediation by language or any symbolic system. The sadness or melancholy that the work of Rachmaninoff expresses, it's our sadness or melancholy. The point of the union between the performer and listener, the composer and the performer, is what I would like to stress here. And this confusion or hallucination resembles a type of madness that we commonly refer to as love. Our practice, study, constant attempts to improve our expressive musical skills are the result of a yes that has to do with love. It is love understood as music listening to us. It reveals a lack, a dimension of our being that somehow turns us into lovers of music. This is a crucial point, since the musician and the mystic